so many salon owners that you and I talk to, they do just hire based on skills. But that's never going to be enough. You can teach anybody technique. You have heard me say this on this podcast. I can teach my husband how to do a balayage. You cannot teach character. You can't. So here's what your hiring process should include. First, a pre-interview application that screens for mindset. You want to include questions like, how do you typically handle conflict with a teammate or a manager? What does accountability mean to you? What would make a salon culture feel safe and supportive to you? And then have them describe their dream salon environment. These questions, they really force people to reflect, and it reveals emotional intelligence really, really quickly. If they rush through with like one-word answers, trust me, you have just saved yourself 6 months of headaches. That's not what you're looking for. And then you want to do a multi-round interview process. So that's going to be important. The first round, personality and values, you're looking for alignment, not perfection, right? That's what it is. Second, bring in a team member or a salon leader so that you're not the only one that's reading the vibe. You will be surprised what your leaders and your team members can tell you about people. And then in the final round, if it fits the role, have them shadow or complete a technical assessment at that point, but don't rush it. This is not just a 30-minute walkthrough. It's not an hour haircut. They need to be in your space for a few hours, probably half of the day, so you can observe how they engage, how they communicate, and how they carry themselves in the real world environment. Chandra, I know both of us use a process like this. Tell people how well it has worked in your studio.
It's a game changer when you're hiring, 100%. When we didn't do it like that before, we went through a lot of people that, we never should have even let in the door. And so changing it like this has not only, it's improved our culture in a way because we do get our other team members involved in the hiring process. So they can get behind whoever we're bringing in as well, which makes a big difference. And then you get to know a person so much more when you are having them come in several times, asking them different kinds of questions in different ways, observing how they work among your team, how they interact with the model or the technical person they're working on. And it really is very eye-opening as to who you're actually going to bring in. We do a lot of those interviews, and there's a lot of people we don't hire. And it weeds them out right away. So it saves you all that time, energy, money. Costs a lot of money to keep rehiring people. So there's definitely, it's a game changer when it comes to building your team.
I agree with that 100%. And I think the third part to this is scenario-based questions. And when we have our BBA members turn in like their interview process, if they have one at all, we don't see these types of questions asked very often. Stuff like, what would you do if a client didn't like their service and they wanted a redo, but you felt like it looked great? How would you respond to that? That says a lot. How would you handle a teammate consistently showing up late or doing something wrong? What does being coached actually feel like to you? What kind of feedback shuts you down, and what actually motivates you? You have to ask questions like this. You can't just fall in love with their resume or their Instagram. You have to hire based on how they think, respond, and connect. It's very important. Culture killers, they usually hide behind great portfolios. Anybody can show up for a 30-minute interview and make it look and sound great, right? In fact, some of the worst hires that I've seen, they had the best aesthetics, but let's be honest, a great balayage, that doesn't mean they're going to have great behavior. It really doesn't. Chandra, what's one interview question that you absolutely love asking that really helps reveal how someone thinks, not just what they've done or what they can do?
I think one of the ones that we always get a lot of insight on is kind of the question of how would you handle someone who's upset, or how do you handle a conflict with a coworker? We just had somebody we were interviewing the other day that we asked that to, and she told us that she had a client who was upset, and she got other stylists in the salon to come over to convince the client that it was fine. And we were like, okay, well, that's, right then and there, and said, thanks for applying, but, good luck. because there's little things like that they say, and they will open up and tell you some of the weirdest things when you start asking those kinds of questions. And it just immediately tells you like, okay, like that's awesome. And then we just move on to the next because we know that's going to be a problem person, and their ego comes out when you ask those kinds of questions. When you ask somebody more questions about things they've done wrong and how they handled those things they've done wrong, that I feel like when their ego comes out a lot, because a lot of people don't want to admit that they made a mistake or that they had an issue or something happened. And so if their ego comes out like that, because she was very much, no, I didn't do anything. And then, I got other coworkers to convince the lady that it was fine. That's terrible. So
I'm telling you, some of the stories, we should probably do an episode over that because we have so many great stories. It's crazy.